Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished professional from Melbourne, Australia, Mr. Christopher Kong. Chris, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Ash. I'm a big fan of your podcast, so it's really wonderful to have this chance to join you today.
Thank you. Chris is the founder of the Crouching Tiger Network, which helps hidden professionals to unlock the power of networking. He was earlier with Cadbury, Kraft, Nielsen, and Danone, and he was recognized as one of the 40 under 40 most influential Asian Australians. So, Chris, before we talk about CTN or the Crouching Tiger Network, tell me about your own journey and what inspired you to pursue a career in data-driven digital transformation.
Okay, so my journey began in Melbourne, where I was born here in Australia. My parents are from Malaysia, and my grandparents and ancestors are from China. Actually, I'm part of the 76th generation of Confucius. Wow. I didn't share that before, but yeah, that's kind of, I guess, a brief snapshot of my lineage. There have been three main themes in my career. One has been related to consumer goods, the fast-moving consumer goods industry. A second theme around data analytics, and a third theme around China, where I've been based for the past 14 years.
Wow.
Before moving back to Australia a couple of years ago.
Fascinating. So let's now talk about the Crouching Tiger Network. Tell us a little bit more about CTN and what are your mission and your goals?
Yeah, I just realized I didn't really answer your question before about pursuing a career in data-driven digital transformation.
I'll come back to
so
that.
Perhaps I might just
I can always come back.
Yeah, I might just... Okay. I can add a short snippet on that now.
Sure, please go ahead.
So I actually don't come from a technical background in data-driven digital transformation. My background is in actually law and commerce. But after embarking on a career in the consumer goods industry, it naturally evolved to the space of data-driven digital transformation. In the past, the traditional world has been related to understanding consumer behavior at a claimed level. So for example, traditional market research has conducted surveys or focus groups to ask people questions so that they can claim their responses. But the big developments have been around understanding consumer behavior, not just from their claimed consumers' claimed responses, but from actual data. And so that's how my career naturally evolved in that direction.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And coming back to my question, tell me a little bit about CTN and what are some of the goals in your mission?
Sure. So the real mission of CTN, the Crouching Tiger Network, is actually related to a proverb. So you might have heard of the film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I have.
Great. So it actually relates to a proverb of the same name, which describes a situation of people who are masters of their craft, good at what they do, but hidden and unnoticed by society. So building on this proverb, how does this apply to us at CTN? Essentially, we are on a mission to help hidden professionals to progress in their career and to become more visible. We are doing this in two ways. One is by helping people, these professionals, to build capabilities related to networking. And the second way is to curate interactions between people.
And Chris, how do you define hidden professionals?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. So essentially, these hidden professionals who we're supporting are people who are good at what they do, so masters in their craft, but relatively hidden and unnoticed. So here in Australia, some examples of these people would be, first of all, migrants, so migrant professionals who have overseas qualifications and experiences that are very valuable, but in some ways under-acknowledged and unrecognized. And another group of people are mid-career technical professionals. They could be coders, programmers, data professionals, software engineers, academics, scientists, people that have focused a lot on their domain, but maybe actually relatively hidden and unnoticed by organizations and broader society.
Thank you. You also talk, when I was preparing for my conversation with you, there was a phrase that caught my attention, which was networking with intention. Help me understand these three words, and why is networking so important in today's world?
Sure. So I think that the terminology networking actually comes with a lot of baggage. A lot of people that I interact with feel that when they hear this word networking, they think about networking events that may be quite awkward. So that's one of the first things that comes to mind to many people. The concept of networking with intention really grounds in a starting point of being clear about what a person's goals or objectives are. So I think that is an important first step before embarking on any networking or interaction with other people. That is different from being transactional. So I don't want networking with intention to give a connotation that it's about transactional interactions, because that's actually very far from I think the best practice. But it's just starting with a goal and an objective of what is really important to an individual, and then going from there. And on the point about how relevant or important it is in today's business landscape, I see two big applications. So one being helping professionals within their career and unlocking new opportunities to progress in their career, in their current organization, in tapping into opportunities on the hidden job market and so forth. So that's one big space. And there's a second space around helping people do their job better. So for example, people that have sales targets often feel very uncomfortable about that. I was previously in roles where I had sales targets, and I'm not a very hard sell person, but was able to manage achieving these targets by understanding people, what they wanted, and helping to give them something that's useful to them, as opposed to looking to sell them something. So I think progressing in one's career and doing one's job better, those are the two spaces that I see a lot of application in today's society.
Fascinating. And what, in your view, are some of the common mistakes people make while networking?
Yeah. So a few that come to mind would be, firstly, people are often thinking about networking events. So networking equals a room full of strangers having awkward conversations with each other. So for me, that networking events might be one part of your repertoire of interacting with people, but I dare say it may not be the main part. So I would say one common neglected area is warm referrals, starting with your current network of people. And after identifying a goal, then working out who your current network of people can introduce you to achieve win-win outcomes. So I think that would be one common, I guess, mindset shift that I think would be useful to think about. I think a second misconception or thing that I notice is that people often think about, even in a networking event, what do I say? What should I say? If I'm not familiar with another person, what do I talk about? And the response I would have to that would be that listening is the is the rare quality in a networking event.
Mm.
Most people love to talk about themselves, and so the more you can actually listen and ask questions that demonstrate your curiosity, that would be more important than actually thinking about what to say or how much to say.
Really?
Yeah, and I think the third thing I would say in addition to that would be that sometimes people feel awkward about networking because they think it's about using someone else. I also cringe about that notion of having a conversation with a person because I want to use them for something. I think that is, kind of against my values, and I would say a better way to look at this would be from the other end of when you're interacting with someone for the first time, thinking about what you can give to someone else as opposed to what someone can give or do for you. Yeah.
Very interesting. The next question is, and I think you partly answered it, but networking can be a little intimidating, especially if you, as you said a few minutes ago, a room full of people who you don't know. And body language is a very important factor as well. When you walk in, into a room full of people you don't know. You've told me about three very fascinating things about networking, which is listen, ask questions, and think of what can you give. I think this is very powerful advice that you have given to our viewers and listeners. Thank you so much. But my next question to you, Chris, is how has the digital age influenced the way professionals should approach networking?
I would say that the digital age has both changed things in some ways, but also not changed things in other ways.
Right.
So I would say that the way that the digital age has changed things is in two spaces. One is how we connect with people. There are more channels and more pathways to connect with people these days. And I think the second kind of value that the digital age has brought us relates to how we can find ways to stay connected, staying connected with people, so that over time you can find more ways to help each other achieve the goals that each of you wants to achieve. So I think that both the kind of front end of finding more channels to interact with people and the ongoing maintenance side of maintaining relationships and adding value to each other, that has been, I guess, turbocharged in this digital age. But the thing that hasn't changed is the fundamentals of human connection. So the fundamentals of showing curiosity in another human being, connecting with them, understanding what drives them, and being motivated to leverage anything at your disposal that can be helpful to another human being, that thing remains constant.
Very interesting. Thank you. And my next question is on personal branding. In the last 7 years, the whole world seems to be talking of personal branding. My question to you is, what role does personal branding play in effective networking?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot of my career was spent in the consumer goods industry, thinking about brands and how to position brands to potential consumers. I think as it relates to a personal brand, some of the principles still hold. At the end of the day, you are thinking about yourself more than other people are thinking about you. And so at the end of the day, there are probably only 2 or 3 tags that anyone else may actually recall or think about when they think of your name or think of you. So I think the implication of that is to be quite purposeful in thinking about what you want your own brand to stand for, particularly from the perspective of other people. What can you stand for that can be relevant and useful and helpful to other people? I think that would be the approach that I would be thinking about in order to consider one's personal brand and how that can be relevant for networking. Because the more that those brand taglines are relevant to someone else and their goals, the more likely you will be to have an interesting interaction.
Interesting. And how do you see the future of networking evolving? And what should individuals prepare for, especially given the fact that a majority or 74% of our viewers and listeners are under 34?
Yeah, right. Okay. So I think networking I see currently and in the past as being very crucial to success, both in one's career. And when I say one's career, I don't just mean as an employee. For those entrepreneurs out there, even more importance of networking in forming partnerships and progressing. So I think it's been important in the past, it's important now, and I actually don't see that changing in the future. If anything, there will be more ways of connecting with more types of people, finding more types of people around the world. I think that would become easier over time. And maybe there will also be more tools to help systematize and create rhythms in how we can stay connected with each other to understand what's important and each other's updates so that we can find more ways to help each other. I think those things have developed up until now and they will continue to develop.
And Chris, given the fact that, you've been a senior corporate leader, a lot of networking used to get done at, in the company's cafeteria and around the coffee machine, or what I call management by walking around. But with now hybrid work or work from home, what happens to networking?
That's a great point. I love that concept as well of management by walking around. One of my mentors really had that as his slogan. And actually, if I just talk about management by walking around, it was such a useful approach for me when I was in one of my previous roles, account management roles, to whenever I had a meeting at the client side, I loved to walk around their office, and I would inevitably learn more from walking around and interacting with people in their office and just noticing things, possibly even more than in the formal meetings that we had in their boardrooms. So I think I resonate very much with what you shared there. Sorry, I actually.
So I said, then what happens to networking when people are going to be working 3 days a week from home?
Yeah, right. I actually think it's a really interesting development. So I think the logical consequence is going to be that there are less organic interactions between people, which I think is quite unfortunate because, the so-called water cooler interactions actually can reveal a lot of, or can help to facilitate, relationship building. In the absence of that, I think the implication is that we need to take more proactive approaches to interacting with other people, finding out what gets them going, both in a professional capacity as well as in their personal lives, and finding ways that we can help. So I think, the implication is that, we actually need to be more proactive if there are less face-to-face opportunities, more proactive in understanding other people, because that's the real starting point.
Well said, well said. Chris, I have time for 2 more questions for you, and these are both for you now personally. My next question is, given your amazing background, what would you say are some of the significant lessons you have learned from your experiences in networking and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So many lessons over the journey. It's not that easy to summarize, but I think if I was to distill one lesson, it would be to turn up and put your hand up. I think in my career, perhaps something I should share, Ash, is that in the past 19, 20 years of my career, I've never successfully applied for a job. 100% of the roles that I've had have come about through networking and connecting with people. In some instances, I was a very great natural fit for the roles that I took. And in some instances, it was a real stretch for me to apply my background and experiences to the new roles. The lesson I had from all of these experiences was to put your hand up when exploring new things. That can be uncomfortable. That can involve taking a risk. I actually think there are so many experiences and skills and knowledge areas that are very transferable. In a world where traditionally we've had lots of silos, I see the future broad opportunity as being applying learnings from one space into another. And so in that context, I believe it should actually give more confidence for people to put their hand up, because it's not only about you seeking an opportunity. Actually, it's more around you applying your skills and knowledge sets from one particular area to another that can unlock, incremental value at a disproportionate level.
Amazing, thank you. And my last question to you, Chris. You were recognized as one of the 40 under 40 most influential Asian Australians in 2020. Can you share some highlights of this recognition?
Yeah. I think the first reaction, I think at the time and even now, is a bit of imposter syndrome on, whether I'm actually worthy to win or be recognized in such a way. And that perhaps is just part of the, I guess, a personal journey that I'm going through. I think one of the implications of me being recognized in these awards was to embark on a lot of thought and reflection on my identity. I was born and grew up in Australia. I'm Australian, it's my home. At the same time, I'm also Asian, have spent 17 years based in Asia, in Singapore and China, and I'm ethnically Asian. So a lot of, I guess, my reflections have related to understanding my dual identity as being both Asian and Australian, and reflecting on how that shapes my views, that shapes my actions. And at the end of the day, trying to leverage different parts of that can be helpful to the people around me and to the society and communities that I'm involved with.
Wonderful, thank you. And on that note, Chris, thank you so much for speaking to me. I loved your lesson, which was turn up and put your hand up. And this is such a wise and powerful lesson for a lot of young people listening to our conversation. Turn up and put your hand up. I loved your 3 points for networking, and I will repeat them again for our viewers and listeners. Listen, ask questions, and always say, what can you give? Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for talking to me about Crouching Tiger Network, the importance and implications of networking. And thank you again for speaking to me. Good luck.
Great. Thanks so much, Ash.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website, www.tbcy.in, to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.